I think I was in high school when I heard the Flaming Lips for the first time. I was in a band with a friend who was a big Lips fan, and they showed me Soft Bulletin. And from there I was kind of like, oh, this is cool. And then I found Embryonic along the way, and that record really resonated with me. And then ended up doing covers of Worm Mountain or SpongeBob and Patrick Confront the Psychic Wall of Energy. So that was fun. I had actually never seen the Lips prior to joining the band. Every time that I was like, okay, they're in Tulsa, I can go and see them at Cain's. By then, it had already sold out. So no, I'd never seen them. Actually, my first show, I was like, hey, I'm excited to see the show. And they're like, well, you get the best seat in the house. How I became familiar with Derek and Scott, so I went to a school called ACM, which Scott runs, and Derek is also faculty there. I remember being in the middle of a lesson with Danny, and Derek poked his head around the corner and was like, hey, what are you guys doing in here? Danny was like, AJ's playing Battle Steel. He was like, cool. Come to my office at some point. And then he had me like play on a song, and that song never went anywhere. From there, me and Derek just kept in contact. The memories of being asked to play with the Lips on the Australia tour. So, Derek hit me up very beginning of the year, like January 2nd of last year. And basically just asked me, hey, do you have a passport? Sorry for the urgency of the question, but like, kind of need an answer sort of fast. And he was like, also, do you play keys? And I was like, yes, I have a passport. Yeah, I kind of play keys. He was like, okay, here's the deal. We're going to Australia. We need you to fill in for Steven. I don't know if it's just this or whatever. So I basically just walked into it thinking, okay, I'm just going to substitute for Steven and then see you later. But obviously keep in touch kind of thing. Very last minute, so Derek had hit me up, and then I had a studio session that next morning, and then I had to be in Texas later that next night, and I had another gig deeper into Texas the next day with a different band, and then the next day they were going in to set up all the gear for the rehearsals. So I had like kind of no time to really prep, but they didn't really need me to set up, so I didn't. They were like, don't worry. So I had like a day to like prep. What Derek wanted was like, you're a guitarist. I know you're not like really a keys player, but I know you can get by. Just show up knowing these 5 or 6 songs on guitar and love your brain on steel. I really want you to bring that aspect to the band. The rehearsal process, for me, was kind of grueling, and I know that the guys were a little apprehensive. I think everybody was a little worried, like, because they had to finish the Weezer tour as a 4-piece, which, I mean, there's a lot of parts to all their songs. Without a 5th man, no matter who it is, there's a lot of ground that has to be covered, or done in tracks or something, you know, something has to be covered. Like, a lot of these parts are very important that the audience sees and hears, and, you know, seeing it and hearing it, like, being done on stage is like more of a kind of a feeling, and you can resonate with that. I showed up. Derek was confident in my ability, which is why I got asked, but I know that like probably Tommy and Matt and Wayne were all like, who is this? I don't know who this is. I've never heard of him. So like, you know, what is this? So like the first day I played Love Your Brain on steel, and they were like, okay, this is cool, we could do this. And then I covered parts on like the hits like Do You Realize, Fight Test, and Yoshimi Part 1 and stuff. And they're like, okay, I know he knows these, but can he get through this? So basically that first day it was like we went over a few songs, and then Wayne was like, let's do Hypnotist. And I remember Matt looking at Wayne and being like, hey, I don't think AJ like prepped that one. I don't know if he knows it. He was like, you'll get it. And I stumbled my way through it, and they're like, Wayne was like, okay, everybody else knows it. Like, AJ will go home and figure it out. So at the end of every day, we'd kind of huddle up and say like, we're going to go over these songs tomorrow. So like we'd show up, earlier in the day, finish up pretty late at night, just so like I could catch up and we could go through everything, make sure everything's there, like really nitpick how everything sounds. And then I would go home late at night and I'd be learning those next songs for the next day of rehearsals until 2 or 3 a.m. I'd get up around 7 so I could keep going over those songs just so it retains in my brain. And then I'd go to rehearsal. Hopefully it's still there. And then later that day we'd huddle up and go, what songs do we do tomorrow? And then I'd just wash, rinse, repeat. But it was definitely after, like at the end of the second day, where we were all like, at least the rest of the band was, everybody kind of dropped their shoulders. The tension was like kind of gone. Everybody's like, okay, we can do this. Because it was daunting. It was daunting for me, it was daunting for them, and they didn't know who I was really. After those rehearsals, there was about a half a month before we flew out. So I just was at home trying to take it all in, trying to prepare myself for what came at these shows, and it never felt real. I mean, even on a plane, a 17-hour plane flight from Houston to Sydney and then flying to Adelaide, I mean, it was a lot of travel. It never felt real sitting on the plane. It didn't feel real that first rehearsal day. It didn't feel real being in Australia. The time that it really kicked me was walking up on stage to a few thousand people in that venue. I went, okay, it's real. This is real. It's weird, and it's real. I hadn't been like nervous for a show in a long time. And then getting up there, I was a little shaky, for sure. Shaky to the point where like Fight Test is a song that I love and have loved for a very long time. I really like those guitar parts, like a lot. So I, like playing through those, I was like, yeah, it's second nature. But then I got up on stage and I went, what am I doing? Especially One More Robot, I hit like a wrong pedal. And I went, uh-oh, I'm throwing it. But I think it was after Yoshimi Part 2, which is just so much energy. I remember feeling some calm energy come my way, especially after Matt shouting, yeah, AJ, giving me a little praise. And I was like, okay, I'm not screwing this up. So the rest of that show, I still had nerves, but Matt had definitely calmed my nerves in that moment, and then got through all those songs, and I could actually because those first 4 songs in the Yoshimi set were just back to back to back to back. So after Yoshimi Part 2, I have a little chance to recoup. Yeah, that was the Adelaide show. My memories of Melbourne are going and playing cricket with the Australian crew, because they were a blast to be around. Love those dudes. Hope they're doing well. And then the rest of our crew just walked around the city. Got to go to Chinatown, which was lovely. I mean, all of Australia is gorgeous, so getting to walk around any of these places was always a treat. And then playing Festival Hall was cool. Because somebody, I think Wayne had mentioned, like, oh, the Beatles have played here. It's like, whoa. And then I'm a big fan of the Beatles. And then I looked into it. I had realized that was like the only tour that Ringo hadn't played. They had to fill in. So it was kind of weird. It was like you hang out in the green room and you're like, oh, a lot of cool people were here. And you're like, you know, you use the toilets in the green room and you're like, man, Paul McCartney probably peed in here. Just so dumb to think, but it's just like small things like that. But yeah, it was great. It was hot that day, but it was nice because in Oklahoma, it was probably like 18 degrees outside. Fahrenheit, that is. Visiting Sydney was fun. We got in the day of the show. Remember that day we had our console went out, but thankfully the home base or like representatives of that company that produce those consoles or store those consoles is in Sydney. Across that whole continent, that's where those are. So luckily we had somebody that could deliver it. But we had to do sound check super late. So that was a strenuous day. Like, I didn't really have to deal with it, but I know that crew is kind of like, this could get dicey, especially our front of house engineer, Aaron, was probably on his toes all day. That's no fun to deal with at all. But that venue was great. It was huge. Very cool venue. It was a lovely day, but I didn't really get to poke around the city that day in Sydney. But our production manager, Zach, had an art show. He has a friend down there, and he had stored a lot of his art pieces with her, and figured, hey, I could put on a little art show, but it's more of like an art party. They held it at a bar, and just across the street is a very gorgeous park, and you can see all the bats flying around. So, I mean, Sydney was beautiful. The whole country, the whole continent, which I guess I don't know if I can speak for the whole continent, but everywhere we went was very pretty, and every day was just a lovely day. Like, I didn't have to experience much of an Oklahoma winter last year, which was kind of nice. I get to go to a nice summery landscape in Australia for the winter. I think by Brisbane, we had all been kind of exhausted, because it's like there were only 4 shows that we played, but it's a lot of travel. I think within being in Australia, I think there were 8 flights, so it's just a lot of travel. And then there's the downtime, and this was my first time overseas, so I tried to go out of my way to walk around, see the sights, do the things that I can't do in Oklahoma. I guess what I remember most about Brisbane was it just being, it was muggy. It was like kind of swampy. It did feel like being back home in the summer, but maybe a little more humid. Lovely town. I just didn't walk around as much that day. I can't really remember what I did in Brisbane all that much. But Fortitude Music Hall was a very cool spot. That was a good show. They were all great shows. I mean, doing it over and over and over again, playing with the same band, multiple shows in a row, like one tour, you will just lock in night after night. Every show just kind of gets better and better and better. And maybe like you'll have a technical difficulty scattered out amongst a tour, which is always like, you're like, oh, that's a bummer. But I loved Australia. I loved the people. The food is great. The weather is amazing. Yeah. Playing Australia was amazing. Couldn't ask for a better tour to be a part of for my first tour with the Lives. Honestly, the moment I realized that I wasn't just filling in probably happened the last day of rehearsals, actually. We were finishing up for the day, and I was just coming in to sub for Steven, and no expectations. And Wayne was just about to head out the door, and then he saw me, and he said, hey, Slaughter. All right, yeah. He's like, come here. Okay. So I came up to him, he opened his arms up, and he gave me a big hug. Oh, okay. And he said, I love you. I'm so glad that you're here. I want you to make music with us for however long you want, and I want to help you do the things that you want to do. It was one of those things where it's like, you get a, hey, welcome to the band kind of thing, but it's never like, you're officially a member. So from that moment, I was like, okay, I guess I'm here no matter what. I mean, I had been filled in on kind of what's going on, but I didn't think too much about it. Wayne had just said, I want you to make music with us forever, or however long you want to be here. I said, okay, I'm here.
I had to surrender. You